What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and let's get into it. This is the truth behind Golden State Warriors firing Mark Jackson, or Mark Jackson being fired by the Golden State Warriors. Whichever one you want to pick. Like we always do, we go to the beginning, start from there. When the Golden State Warriors got Mark Jackson to be the head coach, Mark Jackson came in and replaced Keith Smart, because Don Nelson, one of his biggest credits to the organization out of his long tenure with the organization is when they hired the guy who really don't like anybody. Once they got him in there, it was all over for everybody else. Loeb is a very hard person to get along with. So when you got, not Loeb, but LaCobe, Joe LaCobe, he's a unique human being. So when he came in, first thing he wanted to do is change things. As many other COOs or general managers do, they come in and just take over. So as the GM, he comes right in and says, you know what? We got to get this thing turned around, and he fired Don Nelson. Don Nelson drafted Stephen Curry after Ricky Rubio got drafted by the Timberwolves right before them, and then they took Steph Curry. So that was Don Nelson's selection. He thought Steph Curry had enough, potential to actually be the future point guard for the Golden State Warriors. Now, Joe LaCobe, had he been there, Steph Curry would have probably never been a member of the Golden State Warriors. He would have went with the New York Knicks. And Golden State only drafted Steph Curry because they knew that the Knicks was interested. Once they found out the Knicks was interested in getting him, they wanted to get Curry before the Knicks did. Because they said, oh, okay, they must have seen something in this kid. And we knew something, so Don went and got him. Now, here's the deal. Nelson is fired because the team was ineffective. Curry's is staying hurt all the time. And when he does play, they brought in an inept coach named Keith Smart. Keith Smart is probably one of the worst coaches I've seen. Like, he's really just not a good coach. He's probably a great assistant coach, but he has little patience. Like, I wouldn't be a great coach because I know I don't have the patience. I would be calling timeouts just to punch a player in the face. I'll be like, timeout, ref, timeout. Come in. Pop! Right in the face. Why did you throw that ball out? We'd have burned all our timeouts in the first half. I'd have been fired before my first game. They'd be like, this is the quickest hire and fire of a coach in NBA basketball history. He has literally used all his timeouts in the first half. He's got 2 technicals. He's been ejected. He hit 4 players, and that's on his own team. So the management decided today to let him go. So, yeah, I'd have been out of there right away. But when he came in, he's just basically mismanaging Steph. If you watch the games, every time Steph would mess up, because he didn't like Steph Curry anyway, because he thought he was not a good point guard. And they went with their star guard, they had Monte Ellis. So they'd be like sitting Curry down. Like, look, sit him down. Every time he comes in, as soon as he makes a turnover, they take him right out of the game. And then Curry, with his injuries, it's like he stayed hurt all that time, and he just wasn't in a good environment. So he didn't feel confident as an NBA basketball player. He thought his career was probably going to end up short or traded because it did not start well. So as the season progressed and it was over, they went to look for a coach, and Smart was not going to be back. The players was like, look, we got to get rid of him. And management was like, look, we've been interviewing people, and the guy that they were going to hire, they had already made their mind up that they were going to hire the assistant coach from San Antonio, the Bokenhauser, the guy Mike Bokenhauser. They were going to hire him, but Mark Jackson had to interview. You know, the league policy. So when they interviewed Mark Jackson, they were blown away by Mark Jackson, because Mark is real confident. He sounds like he knows like all the secrets in the world, and he seems very sure of himself. So when they heard Mark Jackson speak, they were like, hey, all right, this is our guy. Like, we got him for a steal. So everybody's excited. They got Mark Jackson. And people are like cheering and happy. And Mark comes right in, goes to work. You know, his methods are a little different. You know, he comes in and he's more of a inspirational type of coach. You know, more than an X's and O's type guy. He's more of believing in the players that they have. And that year, they brought in Webb to be the GM to help out. And when he got there, they hired, a lot of people didn't know, they hired Jerry West for drafting abilities, you know, for his tutelage in the draft department when the draft was coming up. So in the draft, they draft Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Harrison Barnes. That's your nucleus right there. Then they got some other players. They went and got free agencies. They had Iggy and two other veteran players that was on the team. And slowly, now you're getting ready to develop a powerful team. Because now you got the team building in with veterans, with young talent that's coming in who are hungry and ready to play. So what Mark Jackson was doing was giving them the confidence of saying, hey, you're my guy. You know, we got to develop you. You're our guy here, and we need you. So what they did was they traded Monte Ellis for Bogut from Milwaukee. Instead of getting ready to pay Monte Ellis that salary, you got Steph Curry. It's like, look, we're going to put all our stock into Steph, and we can let Monte go. And Monte was a fan favorite down in Golden State. But now that he's went to the Bucks, you know, things have changed. They got Bogut. Now they got a big man. They got all this talent. They got a big man. They're putting together a unit here. And the team is starting to grow. But now you have a lot of things that's getting ready to develop that's happening within the company is not what Golden State was looking for. Golden State had transformed themselves now into this new marketing thing. You know, they bring in a general manager with Rick Welts, who's, you know, his whole thing is making a show. You know, he used to do the All-Star thing at halftime or the All-Star events, the Dream Team. He's good at making something an event. So when you bring him in to run the team, what he's doing is making the Golden State Warriors marketable, building their revenue streams and all of that. But Mark Jackson is like, look, I'm here to win games. That's what I'm here to do. So Mark Jackson have made a rule that none of the assistant coaches can speak at the press conference and during the game. Like, they're not to be the media there not to talk to the media. He wanted no assistant coaches to do that, which aggravated a lot of people. And his problem started right then and there because Mike Malone was the defensive coordinator, and as the success started going to the Golden State Warriors, Mike Malone was getting credited by a lot of people in the press as being the defensive, he's the defensive wizard that's coming up with the plays, and Mark Jackson didn't like it. So what ended up happening is they ended up having a falling out, Mike Malone and Mark Jackson. So Mark just said, you know what, my homeboy Darren Ehrman finna be we're going to designate him. He's now going to be the defensive coordinator, and we're going to give him the duties of being the guy that's running the defense. So this upset some other people on the coaching staff that they did this to Mike Malone. So now Mike Malone is basically like, hey, okay, now this guy's doing my job. Then this guy has no experience. He's a former lawyer. But to their avail, Ehrman succeeds, and they become like one of the best defensive teams that season, and he's getting credit for it. And as the season's going on, you got Mark Jackson, and the way he talked in the locker room to players, the way hey man, you're my guy, what's his name, man? Look, he ain't that good. You're my guy. And that's how he was with Steph and Clay. Steph and Clay was his guys. He would often tell them all the time, look, you two are my guys. I don't care about nobody else. Like, you two, y'all are my guys. And that's how we're going to do this. Like, you are my guys. You 1 and 2. Like, look, so-and-so, whatever, forget him. You're my guy. So when he gave them that confidence, it made them grow as players, because Steph had the okay to go ahead and do certain things that he did. He worked with Steph, because he used to be a point guard, so he gave Steph the confidence to go out there and do what he do. Now, here's other problems with management. You got the situation that's growing with Scalabrine. Brian Scalabrine gets into an argument with Mark Jackson about him coaching and stuff, and they have a big falling out. And then he let Scalabrine go, who was a big favorite amongst the management in Golden State. And when he let Scalabrine go, then it's like, wait a minute, he demoted him to the D-League, Scalabrine, and they acting like Scalabrine was really a big addition to the team, when really he didn't mean too much to anything except for the management liked him. But Scalabrine didn't like Mark Jackson and felt he was kind of an elitist and just arrogant. And all of these stories starting to leak out into the public about the Golden State, how a lot of players didn't like Mark Jackson. Like Bogut really didn't like Mark Jackson, and some other players, and they were all these stories is leaking out about how he's lazy as a coach. He don't watch film. People in the film department's mad because they're spending all this time making the films and sending it to his laptop, and he's not even watching it. He don't do the X's and O's. He's not running plays. He's in the huddle. He has no clipboards in the huddle, not writing plays down. He's not doing any of those things. He's on his phone doing practice. You heard every negative story coming out about Mark Jackson. This is when he was the coach. This was all going on. All because of Scalabrine being released and demoted by him. Now, all of this is going on in one big cycle. You had a deleted team getting ready to go into the playoffs. And right before that, you had Jason Collins come out and says that he's openly homosexual. And Mark Jackson made a statement about it, saying that I know Jason and I know his family well, and I will be praying for them. And when he said that, management didn't like it. Mainly Rick Welch, who's publicly come out as homosexual. So he wanted to go talk to Mark Jackson, and they can sit there and have a one-on-one discussion about it. Because he was often not happy that Mark Jackson brought religion into the locker room. And what people don't know is that Mark Jackson is an ordained minister. So when he's in the locker room and he's preaching belief in just us and using biblical stuff from the Bible, now they're painting him as a religious nut who has a problem with homosexuals. And now all of a sudden, when he first hired it, he's been doing the same thing since he got there. Now it's a problem. Now it's an issue because of the way he spoke about Jason Collins. He said, I'm going to pray for him. And that's what he does. But now Jack LeCoq don't like him. He don't like the way what's going on with the team. They went in the playoffs with a very limited coaching staff because they found out Darren Ehrman was recording team meetings secretly, which is a no-no for the league policy, they said. So he had to be fired, not just suspended. He was fired by the Golden State Warriors. And this was Mark Jackson's guy. So now he's been terminated for recording these meetings, which happened to have Scalabrine arguing at Mark Jackson and yelling at him and challenging him. And when these tapes were provided, or they found out about the tapes, they said, hey, well, you can't be secretly recording stuff. So that's a violation of the team policy and you're fired. So now they don't have a coach and they go into the playoffs lackadaisical. Players are in anarchy, and some are with Jackson, some are not. But nobody in ownership is rooting for Mark Jackson. And they're already looking to hire his replacement going into the playoffs. And they were secretly looking at people who had turned in their resumes and stuff like that. And Steve Kerr was one of them, who was putting out his little thing saying, hey, I'm open for coaching, and listing all the things he wanted to do. He listed all how he would change the Golden State Warriors and all these plays and X and O's. So they were thrilled that they can go ahead and talk to somebody like Steve Kerr. And so they had called this meeting. Season was over. They called Mark Jackson in the meeting to do a rundown of what they were going to do for next year. And it came as a shock to everybody because a lot of people just like, man, they were winning. They were getting better. You normally just don't fire your coach. But it was so much in-house negativity against Mark Jackson because Mark Jackson's attitude, because he's an ordained minister, he's very faithful. He's bounded by faith. So when Jack told him, like, okay, you're fired, we're letting you, sorry, we're going to have to let you go, he went and shook everybody's hand in there and said, I will pray for y'all. And Jack gave him a nasty look like, what do you mean by that? Like, he just didn't know, he didn't get it. But like Mark Jackson, like, it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying I'm gonna pray for you guys. This stuff, I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm happy. I don't fear nothing but God. So this is just a game, and this is just a coach. This is what I do. It's an opportunity for me. I'll pray for all you guys. I don't have no ill feelings towards the organization. It's he's not gonna waste his life being mad at the Golden State Warriors. But is he bitter about it? Of course he is. He'll throw little jabs here and there. When he was saying that certain things is happening, or he'll take a little jab and say that like Steph Curry, like James Harden was MVP, and just the way he words things, he's throwing little jabs, but he's not. Like saying if he was there, things would have happened, and people were saying, oh, if Mark Jackson was there, they were going to win the championship anyway, which they was. They were going to win with Mark Jackson. Steve Kerr didn't really improve anything. He just looks the part. He looks the part. I'm not saying Kerr is a dummy. I don't think he's dumb. I think he understands some of the problems that are happening out there on the court. But I know he has to deal with what he got because he can't say nothing to Steph Curry because he's the lead. So he's got to deal with it. But the thing is in certain situations, the players need to trust you got their back. And you got, you have the idea, you have the plan to beat the other team. And what we saw is that in the last quarters, it was like no leadership on the court or on the sidelines. And everybody's just playing for self. But Mark has always, Mark Jackson and Stephen Curry, they were like best friends. Because they both have faith in God. He's an ordained minister. So they were related by faith more than anything. So Mark has a relationship with him outside of basketball. But once this became a rainbow situation with Rick Wells and Mark Jackson and his faith and him being an ordained minister, that became a big problem with the organization. So he had to be removed. And that's it. I mean, really. He can go and get another job someplace else. But here's the thing. He was supposed to, LeBron was going to have Mark Jackson be the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It wasn't going to be Tyronn Lue. They wanted to get rid of Blatt from the beginning. And LeBron and his agent, they were looking at Mark Jackson to be the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's a little nugget for y'all too. But it got shot down because the general manager, who's really plugged with the NBA elites, which I don't think is really, I don't understand how that process works. You could work with all these other teams, like you guys all hang out and stay in an NBA circle when you're really supposed to be dealing with just Cleveland. They go and have their own little circles, and then they talk to the Warriors organization about Mark Jackson, and nobody there is going to have nothing positive to say about Mark. So they say, nah, I don't think we could do that, LeBron, because, it's too much negativity surrounding Mark Jackson. So we can't. With the Golden State Warriors, that didn't end really good, even though nobody's talking. It didn't end on good terms. So it's like you don't want to deal with it. Now this is unofficially what happened, because nobody's going to go on record and tell you what happened, but the fact that they was finna hire Mark Jackson was absolutely the truth. And he got shot down. And it's the rainbow thing. That's what it is. So, just telling you how the NBA is today. You don't believe me? It's spreading all into Hollywood, as we all know. They're going to make the superhero movie like this. Supposed to be this first rainbow scene in the Star Trek movie that's coming out, that this homosexual team is going to help save the day in the movie for this Star Trek movie. That's what we're hearing. Why somebody's sexuality have to be the theme to save somebody in the movie? It don't make any sense. Your sexual orientation is your sexual orientation. Period. It's your business. It does not need to be flaunted or celebrated. We don't celebrate that we heterosexual. We just is. I mean, that's just it. So why do you feel a need to throw a party or a parade or flags for your sexual orientation? That's my only. Can anybody answer that? I'll be waiting for it, because it doesn't make any sense. There's an organization put together to fight for the rights of people who choose to have a sexual organ or their sexual orientation. They have an organization for their orientation. But hetero people, we don't have any organization that protects us, do we? We don't have a heterosexual organization. You are a person, a human being. What you choose to do or become or say, hey, I'm this, is your own personal business. It has no place in business. It has no place in sports. It has no place in anything in this world. You should be judged as being a human being, period. You should not be getting a leverage or a leg up because you are homosexual or you're heterosexual. It shouldn't affect your job because you feel a certain way because of your faith and belief. And this is the beliefs you go under, and you shouldn't be penalized for that. But yet and still, we're starting to see more and more people are seeing that there is a such thing as now gay privilege, where other homosexuals are hiring people just because of their sexual orientation. And we've seen a lot more of it. But no one's talking about it. But we're not going to go down that road. That's for a whole nother story and a whole nother day. I'm out.